live on the air. I'm Richard Sales.
This is wild.
Hello and welcome back to another episode of Lounge Time. I'm your host, Rich Sale. 4 weeks in the books. Week 5 starts tomorrow, Thursday night. We got a lot to get into today. We got recapping with Rich segment. We're going to go through every game of week 4, plus week 5 picks. You guys know the routine by now. So, with 4 weeks done, let's begin another edition of Recapping with Rich. No, I did not bring the baseball cap today. I'm not very happy with my team. We'll get into it a little bit later. We obviously hope you guys' weekend was as good as mine. But my teams lost, and the teams I don't like all won. But it's not about me. It's about our audience. So let's get right into it. Let's start off with the Thursday night game. Miami Dolphins, Cincinnati Bengals. Now, before we get into the game, we got to talk about something serious, okay? Obviously, we all know by now of the Tua injury. For those of you that don't know, he's out for Week 5 against the Jets on Sunday. Now, you guys know that I'm overly critical sometimes, maybe too harsh on Tua, but you guys all know it's just about his performance on the field that I judge it on, not the person off the field, not the character, none of that stuff, okay? I judge strictly by his performance on the field. But the way he looked Sunday, he looked like he had a concussion. He looked woozy, and clearly when you have that symptom, that means you need to be out for a while they do the concussion protocol and see if you're good. But somebody effed up there and allowed him back in. But Thursday night, we all watched it. We're not going to go through the whole thing with the fingers. No, we're not going to, revisit that, okay? But now we're seeing this injury have a bigger impact on the new updated protocols that the league is putting in. And you could see, if you guys know the teams that had somebody that took a hit to the head, neck area, normally where you get a concussion, right? They were all out of the game. Now, my guess is, I'm probably speaking for most common sense people out there that know that the league had to have sent a memo to the teams Friday or Saturday saying that, hey, if you have a player that has a concussion, keep him out of the game. I'm paraphrasing probably the new memo. It's probably going to come out, I want to say, maybe later this week. I don't know. I didn't really hear about it yet. I was kind of shocked because when you have like a lot of teams that had to take somebody out due to what could have been a possible concussion, depending on which game you were watching, that means that the memo had to have gotten out Friday or Saturday, and everybody knew based off what happened in this game. Now, the good news is that obviously Tua was out of the hospital after this game. He went back to Miami with the team. Hopefully everything is good with him because this is a bigger issue off the football field, as it's well documented. We don't have enough show time to go over it, but I figured, guys, we have to open up with something serious, okay? And I know I've been overly harsh on Tua. I really do hope his health is okay, mainly with his head. Hopefully he gets clear of concussion symptoms and is able to, enjoy his post-football career and all of that because there's more things to the game than just the sport itself. There's other things that people go through, and hopefully just he's good in his head concussion area, and hopefully he gets back on the field soon, because that was something very scary to see on Thursday. But we're glad he's out of the hospital, and hopefully he gets back on the field for the Dolphins soon. But I wanted to open up with the show on a more serious note because that was an injury that made national headlines because it was a big audience on Thursday night. But let's get to the game. Between the two quarterbacks, Tua and Bridgewater, when they were in, not impressed as I thought I would be because Cincinnati's defense, they're not great, but they're not terrible. They're like very good at times, and then they're just okay. But, like they're an average defense. I don't want to say average, but they're maybe a little above average, okay? We all know Tyreek had 10 catches for 160 yards. I had Jalen Waddle in fantasy. He didn't really do much that game. I think he only ended up with like 2 catches for 39 yards, I want to say. Chase Edmonds had a receiving touchdown. The aggressive defense led by Josh Boyer, they got shredded. 27 points allowed. They only got 1 sack on Joe Burrow. I said last week, if you guys remember, this was going to be the pivotal matchup. The Bengals offensive line, known for not protecting Joe Burrow, or the Miami aggressive blitzing defense. Well, I think we all saw who won that matchup last Thursday night. Xavier Howard. I'm a Patriot fan. He's gotten a couple picks on my team. He took Brandon Cooks out of the game 5 years ago on a Monday night game. He had a couple picks on Mac Jones. No, he had a pick last year. Made a nice play earlier this year on the Holland interception. To me, he's a good corner. But when I really look at who he's had a big game against, it's mostly been not so great quarterbacks. And the receivers he's gone up against, some have been good receivers, but some have been not that great when he versus them. He's versing T. Higgins. He got shredded, okay? He got shredded. Now, in my opinion, I think Xavier Howard's overrated. I don't think he's better than a guy like Jalen Ramsey, even though Jalen Ramsey has his fair share of getting beat. I know there's a couple corners that are good, like Marlon Humphrey's pretty good. I know he gets beat. I know he got beat real bad by Jamar Chase, but I'm going to make this real short. He's overrated, Xavier Howard, okay? I don't think he's that good. I think he's a really good corner, but I don't think he's like top tier corner, okay? But 2 of 10 on third down, Miami went. Awful. 6 penalties. They turned the ball over twice. They had 3 missed opportunities that were big. They had a missed field goal. They had a turnover on downs. They had an interception. This game, I guess you could say as a Dolphins fan, it's good that you got a loss out of the way. Or not, depending on how you look at it. But some big opportunities you left off on the board. But not a very impressive game for Miami. Short week. Very curious to see how they do against the Jets. I'll bring up something when we do picks. Let's get to the Bengals side. Joe Burrow, 20 of 31, 287 yards, 2 touchdowns. Offensive line kept him clean, okay? That was the biggest thing of the game. They protected Burrow for the most part. They had 1 sack. T. Higgins, who was mostly going against Xavier Howard, 7 catches, 124 yards and a touchdown. Chase got 4 catches for 81 yards. Defense really, to me, was also one of the biggest takeaways. They held Miami to 15 points. You could say if Tua was in there, would they have been held to 15? I don't know. But Von Bell, the safety from the Saints, came over, I want to say, a couple years ago now. He had 2 interceptions. The one thing for Cincinnati was the turnover on downs they had. But when you're 8 of 15 on third down, that's great. Big win for them. They're 2-2. We're going to talk about the Browns in a little bit. We're going to talk about the Ravens later. Now there's a three-way first place for the division, and you're playing the Ravens next week. We'll get into that game when we go over picks. But a big win for Cincinnati to get them back to 500 and hopefully make another push to win the North once again. Vikings and Saints. The London game, 9:30 in the morning. Kirk Cousins was just okay. Justin Jefferson really was the big story. 10 catches, 147 yards. He had a rushing touchdown. I wonder if Kevin O'Connell studied a little bit of Sean McVay tape and put a play in similar to what Kupp did against the Cardinals last week, and Jefferson doing that against the Saints. I just thought that was very, fascinating to see that he has a rushing touchdown a week after Cooper Kupp got one. So I wonder if that actually happened during the week. Offensive line gave up 3 sacks. I know that's a great pass rush in New Orleans, but Kirk Cousins is not really the greatest of quarterbacks, I know, but that offensive line is good, but not an elite group, let's be honest. Defense gave up 25, 2 sacks, 2 fumble recoveries. Oh, all right, I know a couple plays, I know the refs helped them on offense, one of my friends told me, but Justin Jefferson really was a big story. They were 2 of 5 in the red zone, 5 penalties. They had the 1 turnover they were able to get away with, but those are areas that they'll clean up. They got the Bears coming up Sunday. Should be interesting game. I mean, Minnesota's home. They're not in prime time, so those should be fine, I would say. Speaking of the Saints, now Jameis Winston did not play, so Andy Dalton got to start. And Andy Dalton, we all know what he is. He was on the Cowboys. He was on the Bears. Before that, he was on the Bengals, a while back. Started for them for, I want to say, 5, maybe 6 years, I'm going to say. Around there. But he was average, Andy Dalton. He was average. Run game, they showed up. Kamara was also out, by the way. Had him in fantasy. So luckily I have good running back depth on my team. Latavius Murray, 11 for 57 and a touchdown. Him and Mark Ingram kind of split carries. He also, I said Ingram had a rushing touchdown. Plus a receiving, I want to say. Chris Olave, 4 catches, 67 yards and a touchdown for the rookie receiver. Stepping up with Michael Thomas. Kind of working his way back in the offense a little bit. Defense, though, this is what the Saints are really, really good at. They gave up 28. I know they got some unlucky calls, but you got to be able to learn what's a penalty, what's not a penalty. I understand certain official crews call it a different way and stuff like that, but I know there's some more ticky-tack calls, but every game sadly has those. Officials are not perfect either. But 28 points is 28 points. That's still a lot at the end of the day. They got 3 sacks on Cousins. Tyrann Mathieu got an interception. But here's where the Saints keep beating themselves up. They always do this. If you look at the last 3 games, maybe 4 games now we're going to go. They just keep missed opportunities we talk about the turnovers, and we talk about the penalties. They had 10 penalties and 2 turnovers this game. Tell me what game you expect to win, even a close game, where you have 10 penalties and 2 turnovers. And now this is a 4-game stretch now. If New Orleans stops beating themselves up with turnovers and penalties, they can actually make a wild card run in the NFC. They can make some noise. The problem is they're just beating themselves up too much. And we're seeing now the drop-off from a Sean Payton coach team to a Dennis Allen coach team. And that's the biggest takeaway through 4 weeks of the season for the Saints and how they're 1-3 to begin with. But they got to stop beating themselves up in the foot, man. 10 penalties and 2 turnovers are not going to win you games. Browns and the Falcons. Jacoby Brissett did okay. He did have a rushing touchdown. Nick Chubb, I keep saying his name because that is who you run your offense through. 19 carries, 118 yards, and a touchdown. every game the Browns we've seen them in, he's been their bell cow. He's been their engine. It starts with him. If you want to beat him, you got to stop the run. And it starts with Nick Chubb. All right, Kareem Hunt gets his carries here and there. Amari Cooper had 1 catch for 9 yards. A.J. Terrell did a hell of a job, but we'll talk about him when we get to Atlanta. But Amari Cooper was quiet. And I know Peoples-Jones showed up. I know Njoku showed up. But Amari Cooper didn't show up. And he's supposed to be a really good receiver. Played one of the really good corners in the game in A.J. Terrell. But you got to do more than just have a catch for 9 yards. He really didn't do much. Okay? Defense gave up 23. Again, Myles Garrett was out. He was in a car crash early last week. He did practice, I think, today. I think he might have been limited. Still uncertain if he's going to go Sunday, but we'll talk about that when we go to the Browns game, when we do the Week 5 picks. 1 sack. Denzel Ward, he got an interception. Now, they had a turnover on downs, which ended up being the difference in the game because they were in Atlanta territory, and Kevin Stefanski, he's an aggressive coach. He likes to go for it on 4th down sometimes. But when you look at early in the game, take your points and kick the field goal. You look back, you're thinking, okay, maybe I should have took 3. Some people just say, all right, I still stand by going for it and all that stuff. We'll get to Harbaugh in a little bit. He pissed me off again. But Stefanski's another one of those aggressive coaches. I don't know if he uses analytics or not, but we'll talk about analytics when we get to the Ravens game. But that's one you got to be kicking yourself over. Because if you make that field goal, it's overtime at least. And who knows what happens in overtime. But kind of got a little greedy on that first series of the game, I want to say. It was one of the early drives in the game. They did go for it. The interception, they had the 1 of 3 in the red zone, won't cut it. 7 penalties, 2 turnovers. I told you guys when I picked this game, I wasn't sold on Cleveland because they are a run-first team and their defense is good, but we've seen them give up 23 to Atlanta, 24 to Carolina, 16 to Pittsburgh, but that was with Trubisky. We'll talk about Pickett and them later. And then the week before, I want to say, they also gave up 30-something to the Jets. So Cleveland's defense is not very good either. They're like giving up mid to high 20s or low 30s. So, they're not that insane for a team. And this is with Deshaun Watson out now. But they're 2-2, still tied for the first in the North. But they got the game against the Chargers coming up. We'll get to that later. Speaking of the Falcons, I did pick them on the guarantees. If you didn't check those out, it was one of my best bets of the week. But Marcus Mariota, he didn't really impress me, okay? We know what the Falcons are now. They want to run the football. They did lose their best running back, Cordell Patterson. He's on injured reserve. That sucks because he's a really good receiver / running back out of the backfield, kind of how the Niners use Debo. Again, they had a running back by committee approach with Alligator, forgive me for butchering names, and they had Huntley, so they, had a running back by committee where it was 3 guys because Patterson got hurt middle of the game. These wide receivers, though, Drake London's been the one guy that stepped up for them. He was quiet this game, but Kyle Pitts and some of these other receivers, you got to step up when your number's called on. Can't be Drake London doing everything. He's a rookie, okay? He's really good, but he can't be doing everything. Kyle Pitts is the 4th pick in last year's draft. He's got to do more than what he's already been doing, okay? He's basically like a wide receiver tight end, okay? You got to find ways to get him the ball. I know he got the ball against Seattle, but I think he had, 1 catch for like 25 yards or something like that. But, you can't do that. You got to get him involved more, okay? These other receivers got to also step up too. Defense did hold them to 20. That's pretty good for them, okay? They had the 1 sack. Alford got the interception, kind of sealed the game towards the end. The red zone offense could be better. They had the 1 turnover. But here's here's the biggest takeaway from this game. Falcons lost by 2 to the Saints, lost by 4 to the Rams, beat Seattle, and now beat Cleveland. Is Atlanta maybe better than we think at 2-2? I think that they are. And you can make a case. They could have won that Saints game. Had some bad breaks not gone had some bad breaks gone their way. But Falcons at 2-2, they're better than we think. They've been in every game. Okay? And they were supposed to be one of the worst teams in football before the season started. When we watched them so far through 4 games, I don't see them as one of the worst teams. And this is without Calvin Ridley, who's suspended for the year. Whew. They got Tampa next week, though, in Tampa. And that's going to be tough because Tampa's coming off 2 losses in a row, and they're trying to avoid it making 3. So, that should be interesting to see how that goes. Washington and the Cowboys. I ripped the Commanders last game because they can't protect Wentz. And it's not just this game. It was the Lions game. But Carson Wentz just played the typical Wentz that we know him to be. Turns it over. Just doesn't really make the biggest of plays when you need him to. And he just, I don't know. I don't know if he's broken. I don't know what it is since that injury in 2017. Okay? But since then, he's severely regressed every single year. Okay? Something is wrong with him. And I don't know. Wentz looks like he's either going to be just a career backup or he's just going to be totally out of the league. But Washington is giving you an opportunity to step up, and he's not done that. They have good receivers over there. Not great, but they have good ones. Now, their offensive line, different story. They can't block. The running game, not there either, but they ate this game, though. Jahan Dotson, the young rookie receiver, did get a touchdown. Other than that, now, McLaurin's really good. They have Curtis Samuel, who's like a hybrid running back receiver. Those guys, Logan Thomas, a tight end, those guys got to step up. They didn't step up against Dallas. Dallas is a good defense, but the Eagles game, McLaurin, Dotson did help out a bit. Logan Thomas has kind of been quiet lately. Curtis Samuel is just injury prone, but he can do running the ball in the backfield on reverses. He can catch the ball as a deep threat receiver. But that offensive line in Washington, they did give up 2 sacks, I know. But those receivers got to step up too. Besides once just forcing plays and turning it over to the other team. Defense, 25. And I know Chase Young's out because he's recovering from a torn ACL. But this front 4 with Montez Sweat and Deron Payne and just forgive me, guys, I'm a little slow. Jonathan Allen, they got to step up. Enough's enough. Somebody's got to wreck the game. I mean, when you got a talented front 4 like they can have, somebody's got to learn how to get through somebody on the line. Somebody's got to get to be a takeover guy. With Chase Young out, one of those 3 got to take over. They're not taking over. But again, they're 0 of 2 on 4th down. It wasn't even close. 1 of 3 in the red zone. They had 11 penalties for 136 yards and 2 turnovers. I'll repeat it again. 11 penalties for 136 yards. Are you kidding me? That's almost a football field and a half. 11 penalties. All right. I don't like to declare we know who the worst teams are going to be through 4 weeks because it's so early to tell. And plus, you can have a bad start and make a late run. I think we know already this. Washington's going to be in the top 5 in the draft. All right? They just are. The way that they're built right now, it's just not going to be a successful year. I think it's fair to say. And I know I got a friend watching that's a Commanders fan. But the only thing I guess you can probably infer now through 4 games is you're probably going to be top 5 in the draft again. All right? And again, the quarterback situation is not working. So, and then you got 3 other teams ahead of you. 2 of them with possibly a backup starting next week. One of them actually has won 3 in a row. And the other one has a journeyman backup, but another QB that plays like a backup. So Washington, you really got some problems that are going to be making this a long season for you. All right? Let's go to the Cowboys. Cooper Rush, 15 of 27, 223 yards, 2 touchdowns. Running game did quiet. That was one thing the Washington defense did well, was stop the run. Zeke and Tony Pollard were kind of quiet. CeeDee Lamb, though, picking off where he left off Monday night. 6 catches, 97 yards, and a touchdown. Michael Gallup came back off a torn ACL. He caught a touchdown. Defense, 10 points allowed. 2 sacks, 11 quarterback hits. 11. All right? 2 interceptions. Trayvon Diggs again got one of them. All right? Red zone offense could be a little bit better. But this game, Dallas Cowboy fans, listen up. Because any honest Cowboys fan will say this right now. I got a ton of them watching. We have my uncle who was a Cowboys fan. He'll agree with me what I'm about to say. Same with some other people that are Cowboy fans. I know one of them is my cousin. He's watching too. Okay? This is a game you build on. And I'm going to tell you why. Because the Cowboys commit a ton of penalties. This was the first game you actually didn't commit a lot of them. This was a clean game you guys played. And you guys know the Cowboys are always in penalty trouble. All right? Always in the low teen, well, over 10 sometimes, close to 10 certain times. But this game, you actually played clean. This is a game you build on by playing clean football. We know what you are now through 4 weeks. You run the ball. Cooper Rush manages the game. He's got CeeDee Lamb that they'll get the ball to. Other guys like Noah Brown, Dalton Schultz, Jalen Tolbert. Now Michael Gallup's back in the lineup. Okay? They will get their touches. That offensive line's banged up, but they got to split Zeke and Pollard carries. And then this is what they're really known for. Defense. They've got a deep front four. They've got Micah Parsons. We know what he can do from an edge rushing standpoint, and he could drop into coverage. He could stop the run. Trayvon Diggs is not only becoming a really good corner, but he's becoming a really good clutch corner. Had the game-winning pick on Daniel Jones last Monday night, and he had a pick again this week. So, Dallas Cowboys, when I say this is a game you build on, you know what you are. Run the ball. Cooper Rush manages the game, get those receivers touches. Keep the quarterback clean with that offensive line banged up, but you keep them balanced, which is what you've always been good at. And defense now you have. You have a defense that keeps you in every game, but you're mistake-free. You're mistake-free, and you played a clean game. That's what I say by build on this game. Because if the Cowboys commit a ton of penalties, they hurt themselves in the foot. This game they didn't. It's Washington, I know, but I'm saying this is a building block game for what you have to do to win going forward in the season. And you got the Eagles 2 weeks from now. So that should be very interesting. And a tough one coming up Sunday against the Rams. Seahawks in Detroit. Geno Smith had one of those streaky hot games again. Monday night he had it against Denver, where he was in some kind of crazy zone. 23 of 30, 320 yards. He had a rushing touchdown, 2 passing touchdowns. But Rashad Penny really went off. 17 carries, 156 yards, 2 touchdowns. DK Metcalf, 7 for 149. The reason I laugh is because he got, if you guys seen, he got carted off, but it was because he had to use the bathroom. That's why I laughed when I said DK Metcalf. I've never heard somebody get carted off to use the bathroom and then come back in the game. And he was fine. But it was just a funny thing I happened to see. That's why I laughed when I said DK Metcalf for a second. And plus he made a tweet about it after. I guess maybe because someone posted the picture and then he responded something on Twitter. I just thought that was funny when I said that. Tyler Lockett, 6 catches, 91 yards. Then you had Will Dissly and Noah Fant each get a touchdown, the tight ends. Defense, though, I don't want to say they sucked, but they kind of did in a weird way. Because, you know, they did get 1 sack, but you gave up, really, I want to say, 45 points. Which is terrible, giving up 45. Okay? But Tariq Woolen, the young rookie corner, had a 40-yard pick six. It ended up being the difference in the game. They had the missed field goal that could have iced things. 9 of 12 on third down. That's great for them. 11 penalties, though. That can be cleaned up a little bit. But Seattle has another one of those rare games where they win because Geno is streaky hot. But what comes after Geno is streaky hot? He falls back to earth. Just look at the Niner game right after. They did awful. I know the Niners defense is really good. We'll talk about them later, but still. Geno Smith goes from streaky hot back down to earth. Okay? He has games like that, but it's not often. All right? And the Lions. Dan Campbell keeps pleading with his team to win close games. If you watch Hard Knocks, you kind of understand what I'm talking about. I didn't. I just happened to see the clip when I was looking through the NFL.com news and everything. I just happened to see that. But Jared Goff, 26-39, 378 yards, 4 touchdowns. But he threw the 1 pick in the game that ended up being the difference. This is what Jared Goff is, ladies and gentlemen. He may put up crazy stats, but he turns it over at the absolute worst times. And that pick sometimes is the difference in the ball game. It happened against the Eagles, game 1. Okay? It happened against the Seahawks this game. Jared Goff, I think it happened in Minnesota too. Jared Goff is like guaranteed a turnover machine. It's almost to the point where he's guaranteed a pick six. I mean, he plays us now, so I'm just saying, he's a turnover machine. Even with the Rams, he had some bonehead plays where McVay was like going nuts. I think he had enough of it. That's why he traded for Matt Stafford. But Jamal Williams, 19 carries, 108 yards, 2 touchdowns, stepping up for the injured DeAndre Swift. TJ Hawkinson had a monster game, 8 for 179 and 2 scores. Josh Reynolds had a monster game, 7 for 81 and a touchdown without Amon-Ra St. Brown. So they were without their 2 weapons on offense. All right, Swift and Amon-Ra St. Brown. They lost by 3 still, okay? But the defense, they gave up really, let's be honest. Outside of the pick, it's really 42 points, okay? 0 sacks they got. They got no takeaways. They turned it over twice. And they committed 8 penalties. The Lions can't seem to win these games because they put themselves in the position to do that. By turning it over, committing penalties. And it's a narrative through 4 games that hasn't changed. These are the Lions that we know. Titans and the Colts. Tannehill. He looked okay. All right, he looked average, took care of the ball, did his job. Derrick Henry had one of his really good games, 22 carries, 114 yards and a touchdown. Finally looked like the really good Derrick Henry we've known for the last couple of years now. Receivers, they didn't really do much. I know Robert Woods had some nice plays, and Okono, if I got his name right. Okonkwo, forgive me if I butchered the name. They got a touchdown each. Offensive line, though, in Tennessee, still shaky. Okay? 3 sacks allowed. They did hold the Colts to 17 points on offense. That'll work. Okay? 2 fumble recoveries. Danico Autry got 2 of the team's 3 sacks. Tart had an interception. All right, they played a clean game for the most part. They played a clean game. When you hold your opponent to 17, you're asking your offense to basically say, okay, we need you to score 20 a game. If it was last year with A.J. Brown and Julio, it could work. But you do have Tannehill at quarterback. and Derrick Henry's a little more beat up because of the touches he's been getting year per year. Not going to make a big deal over this because the Titans are expected to be very competitive in the division, but Jacksonville's getting better. And the Colts, I don't know what's going on. We're going to talk about them in just a second, but Titans and Jaguars look like they're going to battle for the South right now. But I don't think Tennessee's that great as people are making them out to be because the losses are significant, mainly the drop-off from receiver. Their O-line's shaky. Henry's beat up. Tannehill's not the guy. And I don't think their defense is quite elite, but it was a big, good game for them this week. Let's see next week when they have to play I want to say Washington, but down the road they'll be playing Kansas City and them. That's when we'll see if they're ready to compete with the big boys. Speaking of the Colts, Matt Ryan, 27 to 37, 356 yards, 2 touchdowns, and an interception. Running game did nothing. Now, I know Jonathan Taylor was hurt, but they could not even do anything running the football. They could not. And that's a bad sign already. Mo Alley Cox, the tight end, 2 touchdowns. Defense gave up 24. They got 3 sacks, but 3 big missed opportunities. And again, this goes back to what we've known the Colts to do through 4 games. The Texans game was horrible, okay? They had a couple, I want to say, in the Jacksonville game that at least could have made the score respectable a little bit. The Chiefs, they had a couple maybe missed opportunities. Probably didn't have much. But this game, 3, where it was 2 fumbles and it was a missed field goal. And again, Frank Reich, why are you going for a field goal? Down 7 with 2 minutes to go in the game. Why? Why? Like, I don't understand why you do that. I just don't get it. Now you're 1-2-1 with a game at Denver on a short week. Whew, I don't get it. I really, really don't. But when you have 3 missed opportunities like that, when you have 7 penalties, when you have turned it over 3 times, it's wondering to say, oh, and the offensive line gave up 3 sacks. That's not on Frank Reich, but I forgot to mention that earlier. But Frank Reich is on the hot seat. Because, let's be honest, guys. Frank Reich went to the Colts in 2018. Great first year with the team. Got them to the playoffs. Won a road playoff game at Houston when they had Deshaun Watson. Lost to the Chiefs in Arrowhead with Mahomes. No shame there. But after that, has been not as great. It's been disappointing. The Bills playoff game, okay, he cost them that Bills game because it was 27-24 Bills. Going for it on 4th down before the half, killer. Because if you take the field goal, who knows what happens in overtime. Okay? Analytics again. We'll get to the Bills-Ravens very, very soon. But Frank Reich, you are on the hot seat. All right? You're a team that's expected to win the division, but right now you're 1-2-1, and things are not looking that great. It's supposed to be improved at quarterback. I think Matt Ryan's still better than Carson Wentz, but that offensive line can't protect. Now Taylor's hurt. Things are just falling apart fast on the Colts, and it's not a good sign. Bears and the Giants. Did I not call everything that was supposed to happen this game? Justin Fields did He threw more than 100 yards, almost 200. I think he ended up with like 174 passing yards. Running game, about 5 yards a carry. We know what the Bears are going to be. They're going to be the run the football team. They're going to run the football as a team, and they're going to play defense because Matty Eberflus is a defensive guy. All right? But Darnell Mooney was their big receiver that stepped up. 4 catches, 94 yards. Looks to be like he's their number 1 receiver. But other than that, these receivers got to step up. They've got to step up for these receivers. Somebody's got to step up besides Darnell Mooney. And there's been a couple guys that have done it through 4 games, but it's not quite consistent number 1 option for Fields to have somebody he trusts to go to. That's apparent through 4 games to me. Offensive line, now I see why they don't want to throw so much. Because they clearly can't block at all. They gave up 6 sacks. But in large part, it's because the Giants are also a blitzing defense too. Because Wink Martindale's a blitz-heavy type of guy. But 6 sacks allowed on Justin Fields. Chicago, I think we all know what you guys got to go get in the draft. Time to go get some tackles to help Justin Fields so that way he doesn't get hit from his blind side too much. All right. Defense gave up 20. It'll work if you have an offense that can get over 20. They are not in position for that, though. Okay? They had a fumble recovery. They had 1 sack, but they only had 2 hits on Daniel Jones and Tyrod Taylor. 2 quarterback hits. Eddie Jackson, he had an interception. I know. They did have 2 fumbles, the missed opportunities, but 3 turnovers, and you lost by 8. So, 2 missed opportunities, which ended up being 2 fumbles, of the 3 turnovers. You got to be kicking yourself for that one, man. But the Bears, 2-2, they're not that great. Okay? The Giants. You're 3-1 because you beat the Bears, Titans, and the Panthers. What do you want, a cookie for beating the worst teams in football right now? The Bears are going to be a top 5, top 10 team in the draft. The Panthers might be the worst team in football through 4 weeks. I mean, seriously? 3-1, we're going to throw a parade? I mean, I can't wait for you to verse Green Bay in London. I can't wait. Because I know this is going to be a game they're going to lose. Green Bay, they're not going to be able to stop that 1-2-headed running game. Aaron Rodgers, he knows how to carve up the blitz. It's new receivers, but he'll find a way to make those guys better, okay, as the year goes on. There's no doubt in my mind the Packers are going to have the Giants, okay? I'll mention that in my picks, but there's no doubt in my mind that the Giants are going to lose that game. And then I know you got the week after. You got Baltimore. Now, you got some cupcakes on the schedule. Okay. You might make a wild card. You're not going that far, though. You're not. You're not even the best team in your own division. Right now, if you want me to be honest, we all know the Eagles are better than you. We all know the Cowboys just beat you on Monday night. They're better than you. So, and then by default, you're better than the Commanders because the Commanders are the Commanders. So, you're not even the best team in your own division. And you're bragging about beating 2 of the worst teams in the league. I just can't wait for the Packer game. I am expecting them to lose. Okay? But Saquon Barkley, 31 carries, 146 yards. These receivers are not impressive still. Richie James and Kenny Galladay's not the same. I think he had no catches, right? They had a couple. I think they have a couple no names, right? So, I don't know where Kadarius Toney is, okay? It seems like he's in the doghouse, right? But defense won them the game. Hold the Bears to 12 points. You get 6 sacks. You get 2 fumble recoveries, 7 penalties. But you turn the ball over twice. And we all know Danny Dimes to the other team is what he is. Daniel Jones is Danny Dimes to the other team. That's what he is. He causes a bunch of turnovers. All right? Now, if Tyrod Taylor actually got a better shot against Green Bay than Daniel Jones. But if anybody believes they have a better shot to win with Daniel Jones as quarterback, you are foolishly mistaken. Okay? Jaguars and the Eagles. Trevor Lawrence was okay. Running game did okay. Jamal Agnew, 2 receiving touchdowns. Offensive line, though, could not protect Trevor Lawrence. 4 sacks allowed. Olakun, the linebacker, he had 12 solo tackles. I think he had 16 combined tackles. That's pretty damn good. Defense gave up 29, 2 sacks. But they did chip in a pick 6. So that's good to do against a team that's now the lone unbeaten team in the league. But the 2 missed opportunities. The fumble was such a killer because you have a chance to go up 17-0 on the Eagles in their own building. But you get greedy and you fumble the ball. If you kick the field goal, you put more pressure on Philly, and they have to push the ball downfield and rush to score points. But that ended up being the flip side and the turning point because the Eagles got on a roll from there. They were up 14-0 in the game at one point, I want to say. Or something like that. But killer that you do that. And then the interception. Midfield, if you're trying to make a drive happen, turns it over. But Trevor Lawrence, this is the first year we're judging him because Urban Meyer the year before was a disaster. But Trevor Lawrence is going to have those plays. But Jacksonville is a team that's learning how to win. Turning the ball over past midfield isn't really the best idea to win games. It's not a great idea to win games. It actually loses you games. But they're learning how to win games. 2-2 them. Okay? Big win off the Chargers in LA, but the Eagles, they're a different animal right now. But if you want to beat the really good teams, you can't turn it over. Just not going to work. Okay? 2 of 7 on third down, that's awful. And 5 turnovers. That for damn sure is not going to win the game. When you turn it over 5 times, it's not going to help. Okay? Let's get to the Eagles. Jalen Hurts, 16 of 25, 204 yards passing. He had a rushing touchdown. He did have the pick 6 he threw. He was good after he bounced back. That's what you want to see in a quarterback. Shake it off and move on to the next series. And he was okay. Running game did carry. We know what the Eagles are building on from last year. Their number 1 rushing attack from last year. And that's what they're carrying behind that veteran offensive line. Their deep running back core. But they got more receivers for Hurts to throw to. Okay. Miles Sanders, 27 carries, 134 yards, 2 touchdowns. Gainwell had a rushing touchdown. The Eagles defense, they're stout right now. 15 points allowed, 3 fumble recoveries, 4 sacks. James Bradbury got the interception. They did have the one where it was turnover on downs, the 1 missed opportunity. But 4 of 15 on third down. Nick Sirianni's probably not feeling good about that as they get ready for Arizona, but not a good thing to have against Jacksonville, but they're going to build on that. Jets and the Steelers. Zach Wilson came back after missing 4 games, and he was okay. He had some hiccups, the 2 good interceptions. He did have the 1 touchdown he threw. He did have the receiving touchdown that was based off the Eagles Super Bowl play. I'm not going to name it because, it's not my thing to do that. But Breece Hall, 17 carries, 66 yards, and a touchdown. So he looks like he's going to be the new big running back. Corey Davis, 5 catches, 74 yards, and a touchdown. Defense held the Steelers to 17 points. Got 3 sacks, 4 interceptions. 2 of them by LaMarcus Joyner. Right? The missed opportunities they had the interception that was in Pittsburgh territory right before the end of the first half. They did have 7 penalties. They did turn it over twice. That's the stuff that they're probably going to want to clear up versus Miami at home next week. But most of those are what the Jets are known for. But what's weird about this is they actually won the game. And they still got away with the 7 penalties and 2 turnovers. And the missed opportunity, which was the pick before half by Pittsburgh. But big win on the road for the Jets. I can't believe I'm saying this. They actually beat the Steelers. That was a big win on the road. Speaking of the Steelers, so now Mitchell Trubisky is gone, and in comes Kenny Pickett. Now, Steeler fans, you guys were happy to see him. There was an excitement. There was a joy to the crowd. We get all that. But Kenny Pickett, let's be honest, guys. Some people said he played terrible. Some people said he was really good. But he had some highs and he had some lows. Okay? He did have the 2 rushing touchdowns. to make it a game. But then he had 3 interceptions that turned the game the other way. I exercise patience for you Steeler fans because you had Big Benny, was a young rookie. It was a while ago. Growing pains are going to happen, okay? It's the same with anybody that has a rookie now or had a rookie, a couple years before. You got to be patient with Pickett, okay? You have to let him develop. He's going to make mistakes, and you're going to have to just let him learn from it, okay? There's growing pains in developing a young quarterback. That's just part of the process, okay? So he did all right. Highs and lows. That's the basic takeaway we have from this game. Najee Harris, 18 carries, 74 yards. George Pickens, 6 catches, 102 yards for the rookie. Freiermuth, 7 catches, 85 yards. Okay? Offensive line didn't protect him, Pickett, or Trubisky well. They gave up 3 sacks, 2 missed opportunities, which, Kenny Pickett will learn from as he learns the game and when he learns how to, not turn it over in the red zone, and he will learn. That's the basic takeaway from this. 8 penalties, though, for a Mike Tomlin coach team. 4 turnovers. Are they in a rebuild mode? It's hard for me to believe that Mike Tomlin is in a rebuild mode when he has never had a losing season in his career. When they have, maybe not elite level talent, but they have good talent to be respectable in winning games. We all thought last year they would be terrible. But they actually made the playoffs. So I wouldn't say they're in a rebuild yet. But the schedule they got coming up is brutal. So maybe they are in a rebuild. But knowing the reputation and the standard the Steelers have as a gold standard, as a first-class organization, I don't think they're in a rebuild mode. I don't. Not with what they have built for years down there. Okay? And Tomlin not having a losing season, I just can't see that they're in a rebuild mode. If they are, I'm shocked. But I just don't see it. Even though the tough schedule is upon them. Bills and the Ravens. Josh Allen, I've lauded him through 3 weeks of the show. Well, not really last week, but 2 weeks I lauded him. Last week I said you found a little bit of the blueprint how to beat Buffalo. Maybe watch this first half if you're defensive coordinators because he had a horrible first half, Josh Allen. Opened the game with a pick. Devin Singletary did have the fumble, okay? But Josh Allen had a better second half, though. I think it was, 20-3 at one point, and they came back and scored 20 unanswered. But he had a better second half off an awful first half. Horrible first half, whatever adjective you want to use. But here's the thing I don't understand. He's your leading rusher. Again, he's your leading rusher. Miami was your leading rusher. I think the Ramsey was your leading rusher. And now this game. In the rain. It's not a sustainable way to win. It's just not. He's not a guy like Lamar or Jalen Hurts where there's actually designed quarterback runs in there for him. Josh Allen's a guy that can run when the play breaks down, but not a guy designing plays for him to run and take a beating. He's not that type of guy, and I like him, but it's just not a good, sustainable way of winning because one hit, and if it goes the wrong way, it's over. And the league doesn't want that. Because the league wants every big-name quarterback to be there so, they can provide the best teams and players out there. But the Bills are not giving Josh Allen a sustainable way of winning by letting him be the leading rusher for 3 out of 4 games, it feels like now. All right? So it's just not a sustainable way of winning. Receivers, they were quiet. Diggs did get open here and there. Gabe Davis was quiet. I think it was him coming off injury. Dawson Knox has been quiet. Isaiah McKenzie got hurt middle of the game. But the defense really helped out. Matt Milano, 11 solo tackles. Really good linebacker, 13 total tackles. They held the Ravens to 20. 2 sacks they got. Von Miller got one of them. Jordan Poyer had a big game. 2 interceptions in the fourth quarter. That was a really big-time performance by him. 2 turnovers. 4 penalties for 31 yards. 4 of 11 on third down. That's not going to work. But you managed to get away with a win, and that's the biggest takeaway. On the road, it was a tough place to play in Baltimore, and they got the win against a really good Baltimore team. Speaking of the Ravens, Lamar had an okay game. He did have, J.K. Dobbins really carried. Let's be real. He had a rushing and receiving touchdown. Okay. But Lamar threw 2 crucial interceptions. 2 crucial interceptions in the fourth quarter. One of them was not his fault. The other one, he just threw some bad turnovers at the worst times. Okay. That was a huge reason why they collapsed in the second half. 2 of 4 in the red zone. That's something they're going to want to improve. They were 9 penalties, 2 turnovers. The defense, 23 points allowed. That works, but the Ravens got to score 24, and they had opportunities to get it in, and they didn't. Okay? They had 1 sack on defense. They had the interception early in the game. They had the fumble recovery early in the game. And John Harbaugh, again, with the 4th down call. I said 2 weeks ago when he went for it and all those times in Miami that analytics are killing the game. And damn it again, he does it again against the Bills. At home, he does it. I mean, clearly, one of 2 things has to go on. You either don't trust the defense, one, because that very much like the parent, okay? Because either way, they got to go down and kick a field goal. I mean, if you kick it and they go down, worst comes to worst, you got overtime. Or they get a go-ahead touchdown. Either way, your defense couldn't stop them. But going for it was basically just a waste because you made them go the length of the field and make them bleed all the clock, and you had no timeouts to work with. Yet there's miscommunication on, should we let him score or should they let him go down? The Bills guy goes down, and one guy doesn't get the call, let him score. So already there's dysfunction and collapse through 4 games. Okay? But if John Harbaugh just takes the points, the defense is like, okay, we need 1 stop. I don't know if there's a lack of confidence in the defense, or he's just really, really thinking, all right, the offense can do it. They didn't score since the 2nd damn quarter. What are you expecting? The Bills are a well-coached team. Analytics are not going to win you at these games. I don't understand where the simplicity of this game went. It feels like it went out the window. I don't get it. 2 games now. I'm telling you, mark my words. If they don't make the playoffs, we got Miami and we got Buffalo. Close games are going to haunt you if you don't make the playoffs. Trust me. It's a narrative for why teams are good and why they're not good. And the Ravens have 2 close games they're going to look back on and say, well, we went for it all those times on 4th down. Maybe if we did this and took points, what would have happened? Well, they're going to be asking themselves that at the end of the season if they don't make the playoffs. And I'm telling you, that's what's going to happen if they keep doing this, because these analytics are going to cost them games, and they're not going to be what everybody thinks they are if they keep trending downward. Their defense is not the great defenses they've had of old. Okay? So, analytics is winning the game, and it's going to hurt them one day. May cost them a playoff spot. Chargers and Texans. Herbert, 27-39, 340 yards, 2 touchdowns. Played great. Didn't look like the injury bothered him. Austin Eckler finally showed up. 13 carries, 60 yards, 2 rushing touchdowns, and a receiving touchdown. We were wondering where he was last week. He showed up this week. Gerald Everett, 5 catches, 61 yards, and a touchdown. Defense, though, finally got back to what they know they could be. 4 sacks, 24 allowed. But when you got an offense with Justin Herbert, you can kind of get away with it. 10 quarterback hits on Davis Mills, but it's the Texans, okay? 2 interceptions they got. They were 8 of 16 on third down. That'll work. 3 of 5 in the red zone. They could tweak that maybe a bit. 6 penalties they'll tweak up. But considering all the injuries, this was a big win. They had to win this game, and now they play at Cleveland, a game they're going to probably need to win. And nice win just to kind of steer the ship back and keep the season afloat for now. Davis Mills for the Texans. He was all right. Okay. Offensive line, though, couldn't protect for him. 4 sacks allowed. Dameon Pierce. I have him in fantasy. 14 carries, 131 yards, and a touchdown. That's what they are. Run the ball with him. He's a good running back that showed up for you in preseason. Just run the ball with him. You got Cooks, you got Nico Collins. Okay, they've got some players. But you're really kind of run first with this kid. Give him the ball, because when you give him the ball, good things happen. All right? But, again, like I said, Nico Collins, Brandon Cooks showed up. Defense gave up 34 at home. They did get a fumble recovery. They did get the sack. But they had 2 missed opportunities, a missed field goal and a turnover on downs. That's going to hurt you in a 2-score game, depending on how it was. But really, this game wasn't close. But at least the game could have been a little bit respectable had you done something on both of those drives. 4-12 on third down. Not great. 9 penalties and 2 turnovers. And this is why they haven't got a win yet. Okay? Cardinals and the Panthers. Kyler looked good. He had a rushing touchdown. Running game did okay. Hollywood Brown, 6 catches, 88 yards, and a touchdown. Zach Ertz, 6 for 47 and a score. Defense held them really to 9 points. 2 sacks allowed, fumble recovery, 2 interceptions. They did have the 2 missed opportunities. They were 2 of 5 in the red zone. They can work on that. They did have 7 penalties. That's basically what Cliff Kingsbury's team is. They commit just a bunch of penalties. But I'm not really that impressed of this win. It's Carolina. They're not that great. Okay? You could argue they're the worst team in football right now. All right? Speaking of the Panthers. That offense is dreadful to watch. All right? Baker Mayfield sucks. All right? Clearly Matt Rule doesn't trust him. When you have a Christian McCaffrey, when you have a Robbie Anderson, when you have a good receiver in DJ Moore, clearly Matt Rule does not trust Baker. Okay? He was awful. Running game was a no-show. C-Max did show up in the passing game. 9 catches, 81 yards, and a touchdown. C-Max is Christian McCaffrey. That's my nickname for him. I don't care what anybody says. I like it. Okay? Defense gave up 26. They had the 1 sack. Louisville had the pick 6. But when you go 2 of 10 on third down, when you 6 penalties and 3 turnovers, clearly you're not learning how to win games. You're learning how to lose games. So, Matt Rule, we talked about Frank Reich. Matt Rule, if he keeps this up, odds are he might be the first coach fired. And that's not a good sign, because I don't know how long Tepper's going to be patient with him. Because the results are not coming quick at all. And this is not a good sign, okay? So, Carolina, you're in for a rough season too. Good luck maybe getting the first pick in the draft. Broncos and the Las Vegas Raiders. Wilson was efficient. Running game, Melvin Gordon fumbled. Javonte Williams got hurt. He's out for the season. I know. But they did Jerry Jeudy and Sutton caught a touchdown each. Offensive line gave up 4 sacks allowed. Defense gave up 32 points allowed. They got 2 sacks, but 3 of 11 on third down and 7 penalties. I just don't know. I don't know what it is, but Denver's offense just looks like boring, just not interesting. And I don't know. Thursday night, I'm not that intrigued with this game with the Colts, but this offense is just like a blank piece of paper. Like, okay. Like, they got a quarterback, but they got 2 good receivers. They have 2 good running backs, but it's like simple to a defense. They just look like a blank piece of paper right now. That's what the Broncos look like on offense. It's just, okay, it's simple to a defense. That's why they're a blank piece of paper, Denver. It's weird, but it's true. Okay? Derek Carr for the Raiders, he had an okay game. Didn't turn it over. Josh Jacobs really carried. 28 carries, 144 yards, 2 touchdowns. That's a good sign. Devontae Adams, 9 catches for a $101. Defense held Denver to 23. They got 3 sacks. Robertson had the fumble recovery touchdown. Ended up being a huge difference in the game. 7-14 on third down is great. 2 of 5 in the red zone they can work on. But the Raiders, you finally learned how to win a game. You wanted to get Josh Jacobs involved. Well, that worked. Devontae Adams gets involved. Check. Matt Collins steps up. Check. You keep Carr protected. Good. Defense, held them in the low 20s, mid 20s. But you're asking your offense then to score points. I just don't like your chances next week. Patriots and the Packers. I'm really not in the mood to talk about this game. I'm really not. I know I'm in my Patriots shirt. I'm getting myself hyped for the Lions game, but I'm not that hyped. But damn it! Bill Belichick coached scared. He coached scared this game. Okay? And I could tell because they basically had Bailey Zappi have the chain tied to his ankles and handcuffed him. It's like this. Okay? That's basically what they had Bailey Zappi look like in this game. Picture handcuffs and a chain wrapped around his ankles. That's what basically we did to Bailey Zappi. Okay? I'm going to get into overtime because I hated how we handled overtime. Okay? Here's the deal. He coached scared, Belichick. Running game did good. Damian Harris or Ramondre Stevenson, they ate. Okay? Devontae Parker getting involved more in the offense, that's a good sign. Okay? Defense gave up 27. That's not going to work. Okay? Because your offense clearly can't get in the 30s. You're not built that way. If you had Tom Brady back and all that, yeah, that's different. But this is not Brady anymore. This is Bailey Zappi and Matt Patricia calling offense and Joe Judge. The idiots, as I call them. And Mac Jones is really good, but he's not ready to get into a 30 to 40 type game. He's not. We're not built that way right now. Okay? Offensive line gave up 4 sacks. Isaiah Wynn, I am so done with you. I hope Marcus Cannon starts over you next week. Because you look like you just got beat with one simple speed rush. Rashawn Gary beat you twice on it. He literally just ran right through you. He ran right through you twice. One of them, you made Bailey Zappi fumble, and that was huge because that could have been at least 3 at half. But no, you literally just didn't even pick him up. You just let him get a free shot on him, and they got the ball, and luckily Rodgers threw a pick to end the half. But still, that's not going to happen all the time. That was rare that went our way for a little bit. But that's not a good sign when we're letting free defensive linemen, edge rushers get clean shots on the quarterback. That's a disaster, okay? And I ranted about it last week, that blocking scheme. It ain't working, okay? Matt Patricia has no business putting in his new scheme when he's proven nothing, okay? Now, the defense. They did get 1 sack. Jack Jones had the pick 6 I just mentioned. I mentioned the fumble. When you're 3 of 11, you're awful. Okay, on third down. 3 of 11 on third down is awful. Okay? 7 penalties. Now the overtime. Guys, it's 2nd and 5 at the Packer 46. I'm thinking at this point we're going to go score. And maybe pull the upset. Okay? And you're mean to tell me you don't have 1 5-yard play to get a first down for however many yards it may have been. You're telling me of all the plays you installed going back to darn near minicamp, you don't have at least 1 5-yard, not even one. You don't have a couple good 5-yard plays you like? For the kid to at least let her... You can't keep the kid in chains on the ankles and handcuffs all game. You got to let him throw it a little bit. You got to let him make a play. Let it rip once. Okay? But no, this goes back to Belichick coaching scared. And this is what I don't get. This is why Matt Patricia sucks as the OC. He's got to go. You're telling me you don't have at least a solid 5+ yard play to keep a drive alive and at least get out of Green Bay with the win. You don't got one 5-yard play that works, maybe more. And this is what he is. This is what we are. Now, I'm going to remind you, we were 1-3 last year. And I know everybody's going to say to me, well, the launch time veterans that watched the show last year, Rich, you were 1-3. You were not happy then. You were 2-4. And then what happened? That was last year. I don't want to deal with last year no more, okay? This is this year. The only hope we have is if we win out these next coming 6 games. Look at the schedule. I'm not telling you all those 6 opponents. You should know the schedule. If not, it's all right. Look it up. There's a 6-game stretch. If we win out those 6 games, we got a shot. We got a shot if we win all 6 games. They're winnable games. It's teams that we should beat. If we don't win out, then there's trouble. And if we lose to the Lions, damn it, the season might be over if we lose to the Lions. I'm not joking. If we lose to the Lions, the season's over for us. All right? Let's get to the Packers. I'm done talking about my team right now. Aaron Rodgers did not have a good first half, but a much better second half. Aaron Jones, 16 for carries, 110 yards. A.J. Dillon, 17 for 73. Alan Lazard clearly is Rodgers' go-to target. 6 catches, 116 yards. Dobbs and Tanyan caught a touchdown. Okay. Defense gave up really 18. I'm not counting the pick 6. They did get 4 sacks. They did turn it over twice. But it's very rare Green Bay wins. And Rodgers said it's not a sustainable way of winning. But they will get better as the year goes on. Do not worry. All right? But, hey. Aaron Rodgers is Aaron Rodgers. What do you want me to say? Chiefs and the Bucks. I know, Chief bandwagons. I said you were going to lose the game. I did. But I don't regret not picking you to win. I actually thought you were going to lose this game. All right? It was either that or the Colts. But you ended up losing the Colts game. All right? So, Mahomes ate them up. We know he wanted vengeance after the Super Bowl. But now that everybody's going to say, we'll see what happens when he has the line. Okay, that you used either way, that was 2 years ago. But that's what I'm saying. Now you got a line, okay? But you still allowed some pressures against Tampa. That you did allow, okay? The running game did good. Isaiah Pacheco, Clyde Edwards-Helaire had a rushing and receiving touchdown in the game. Travis Kelce, 9 for 92 yards and a touchdown. All right? Offensive line, I told you, was a little shaky. They gave up 3 sacks, so I know that, it wasn't as bad as the Super Bowl was, but you still gave up 3 sacks. You still gave up 3 sacks, Chief bandwagons. The Chargers got to you a little bit, okay? The Colts pass rush was a little quiet, but Chief bandwagons, your offensive line's still a little bit shaky, okay? All right? And I told you your defense ain't that great either, okay? How about the overthrow to Clyde Edwards-Helaire on 4th down for Mahomes? What about that early in the game? 4th and 1, he overthrew wide open Edwards-Helaire. What about that? Oh, but we're not going to bring that up because we won the game. Okay, I can't wait till you verse somebody in 2 weeks and see if we have those same excuses lined up. Because they beat you last year in Arrowhead in the regular season. I just want to point this out. You know who I'm referring to. All right? I'm just saying. You won, but I'm telling you, the little signs. Somebody's going to put together a game plan for your new revamped offense. You may not be explosive as you were years ago, but somebody's going to find something. And the little inklings I'm spotting, somebody's going to get you late in the year. I will promise you that. Okay? Speaking of that, defense. They got 1 sack. They did have 2 fumble recoveries. One of them was off a kickoff return, so really that was special teams. We're not counting that for defense. But they gave up 31. Okay? So, again, are we really thinking the Chiefs' defense is that great? Hell no. Chris Jones is really the one big guy you worry about up front. Frank Clark is like hit and miss. He's washed up certain times, and then he just has one game out of nowhere. Okay? So I'm not really making much of the Chiefs' defense. Okay? 12 of 17 on third down. That was great. Now let's get to Tampa. Tom Brady did good. 39 of 52. 385, 3 touchdowns. Oh, but he fumbled, Rich. Okay. Steve Spagnuolo's an aggressive blitzing defense. Every quarterback's going to fumble on a blitz. Name me one that hasn't happened to them. Please. All right? Running game just was abandoned because when you're trailing by 18 points, the run becomes abandoned. Okay? Mike Evans came back off the suspension. 8 catches, 103 yards, 2 touchdowns. Fournette got a receiving touchdown. The defense, though, really couldn't do anything. I mean, they gave up 41 points allowed. 3 sacks they allowed. Sean Murphy-Bunting did get an interception. They were 60% on third down, but you turned the ball over twice and you lost by 10. The kickoff fumble, that led to points. The fumble that Brady had, that led to points. It cost you Green Bay, and now it costs you this game. If you don't turn the ball over, you're going to win games. I expect Tampa to correct this, and they'll be fine. But this is 2 games in a row now where turnovers have hurt them badly. And the opponents cashed in on turnovers this game. And Green Bay had their turnovers too last week, but Green Bay is a team that can take advantage of that. Kansas City showed they also can. All right? Rams and the Niners. Stafford did not look great. Looked like the old Lions stays. Okay? A running game just was where? Cam Akers didn't do much. Henderson didn't do much. Where was the run game? I didn't see it. They just were quiet. Offensive line gave up 7 sacks allowed. 7. We talked about how much the Bills got to in week 1. 7 sacks they gave up to the Niners. 7. And guess who you got next week? Ooh, I don't know about that, all right? Cooper Kupp, 14 catches, 122 yards. He feels like he's got to do everything. Tyler Higbee, 10 for 73. Colin Cowherd said it the best Tuesday. It's Kupp, Higbee, and then everybody else. Allen Robinson's not been the guy that they thought he's been so far. Okay? Defense got 1 quarterback hit. 1 on Jimmy Garoppolo with Aaron Donald and Leonard Floyd. Wow. 1 quarterback hit. Oh, man. Okay? 0 for 3 in the red zone. They turned the ball over twice, one of them being a pick 6. Okay? They had no sacks. They had no takeaways. Oh, man, it was a rough day for the Rams. It was a long day, I bet, for them yesterday. Jimmy Garoppolo did okay for the Niners. Jeff Wilson, the guy stepping up now for Elijah Mitchell, who's on IR. 18 carries, 74 yards, and a touchdown. Debo, 6 catches, 115 yards. Drake Greenlaw, very good linebacker, 12 solo tackles, 15 tackles total. Ibukam and Bosa, 4 of the team's 7 sacks on the day. 9 points allowed. That is great. Okay? Especially on the defending Super Bowl champs from last year. 9 points allowed to a team with Stafford, Kupp, Allen Robinson. Wow. All right? Hufanga had the 52-yard pick 6 that iced the game. D'Amico Ryans deserves to be a head coach in this league. He's really, really good at calling defense. He's got them playing at a high level. All right? All right, guys. So those are the Week 4 recapping with Rich segment. All right? Hope I provided you with some good analysis on the games. Now, let's get to the Week 5 picks, shall we? Starting with Thursday night, Broncos and the Colts. I don't really look forward to this at all. I think it's going to be one of those slow, boring games. Jonathan Taylor's out tomorrow night. Randy Gregory's on IR for Denver. Denver's offense is like a blank piece of paper. I said it. If I'm going on, this is going to be a dead under game, okay? I'm going Denver 16, Colts 10. This is going to be one of those slow, boring defense type of games. Packers and Giants. Sneak peek on the guarantee. This game is one of them. All right? I love Green Bay to win this game. Absolutely love them. The Giants are not that good. They've beaten nobody, and the one team they actually had to beat, they lost to, okay? And this is going to happen again in London. Aaron Rodgers will put the Giants in their rightful place, and the Packers win 24-13 over the Giants. Bills and the Steelers. Kenny Pickett, they threw you to the wolves, man, in Buffalo. Oof. Too bad the Steelers' defense is not the Steelers' defense of old. And the Bills' offense, I think, coming off 2 shaky games on offense, I think they're going to be bound to have a big game on offense. I don't know if they'll get 30, 40. I was debating if I should put that, but I think they'll at least get 28 on the Steelers. I'm going Buffalo 28. I'm going Pittsburgh 10. Chargers and the Browns. Cleveland's hard to figure out. But I just said it earlier in the show. I don't think their defense is that very good. I think they're really one-dimensional. They're just a run-first team. Okay? I think the Chargers, the biggest issue for them is can they stop the run? All right? They got some pieces last year to make sure the league worst run defense got better from last year. Well, now's the test. Can they stop Nick Chubb? Because last year when these two teams met on the same week in Los Angeles last year, the Browns, I think, had their way. Or no, the Chargers won, I think. Either way, you know where I'm going with this, okay? But it's in the Cleveland this time. I'm going with the Chargers 30-21 over the Browns. Herbert is that much better than Brissett. I think they'll stop the run. I think Keenan Allen, if he's healthy, will get going. Mike Williams will do the thing. And the Chargers defense is better than what they were last year when these two teams met. So give me the Chargers. 30-21 over the Browns. Vikings and Bears. So Kirk Cousins is not in prime time. Bears are not very good. And Minnesota's at home. Yeah, I know who I want. Give me the Vikings 24, the Bears 14. My Patriots versus the Detroit Lions. This is a must-win. We have to win this game if we're going to have any bit of hope of making some kind of run and proving that fucking clown who picked us 14th out of 16 in the AFC wrong. I'll save that if we do good, but I don't think I'm going to be saving that for a while. But I got faith in my team, hopefully to win this game. If Mac Jones comes back, I like our chances, but we need to stop beating ourselves and stop coaching scared and play big boy football, please. Okay? I'll take my team. I'll take my Patriots 24, the Lions 20. Saints and Seahawks. Geno in the dome versus a good defense. It's going to be loud, and he's coming off a very good game. Yeah, I'm going with what history tells me. I'm going with the Saints 17, Seahawks 10. I think the Saints are going to neutralize Geno Smith and make him the not-so-good quarterback that he can turn right back into. Saints 17, Seahawks 10. Miami and the Jets. Okay. Miami and Cincy both played last Thursday night. I want you guys to notice a pattern real quick. Both the Steelers and the Browns lost last week, and they played on a Thursday, the week before. Chargers and Chiefs played Thursday night, week 2. Both lost their week 3 games. Miami's coming off a Thursday night game. Don't be surprised if the trend continues where both Thursday night teams from last week lose the following week. But I think that's going to end now. Because I think Miami is going to get right. Teddy Bridgewater's a capable backup that can steer the ship. I think the Jets just had a nice emotional win off the Steelers, but I don't think they're going to be ready for Miami, and I think Zach Wilson's going to be in for a long day. Give me Miami 23, the Jets 13. Bucks and Falcons. An angry Brady with a 2-game losing streak at home against Atlanta, who's a very competitive team. And it's in Tampa. Yeah, Tampa's got to win this game. Tampa's defense has got to go back to being lights out. This is the perfect get-right spot. Give me Tampa Bay 35, Atlanta 20. Titans and Commanders. I don't like either team in this game at all, but if I had to pick, I'm gonna make this real quick. Titans 27, Washington Commanders 17. Washington's one of the worst teams in the league, and Tennessee should win this game. There you go. Jaguars and Texans. Let's see. Trevor Lawrence or Davis Mills? Trevor Lawrence. Doug Peterson or Lovie Smith? Doug Peterson. Jaguars should win this game. They're at home. I think they will win. Give me Jacksonville 31, the Texans 19. I think Jacksonville's a better team than Houston. Niners and the Panthers. Blowout City. Blowout City. I'm going the Niners 38, Panthers 7. Panthers are the worst team in football. Niners have a rock-solid defense. Baker Mayfield's in for a rough day. 38-7, Niners over the Panthers. Cowboys and Rams. America, I'm going to shock you. I actually have an upset this game. I don't think the Rams have looked any bit good through 4 games. I don't think they look that great. Now, they're coming back in LA. Okay? Cooper Rush is starting. He's rolling. But he's going against Aaron Donald and Leonard Floyd. This is a tall task. CeeDee Lamb's going to be going up against Jalen Ramsey. That's going to be a big matchup. But can Dallas play a clean game? Sean McVay in his career against Dallas, he's had his way. And the lone loss came in 2019, week 15. Okay? But I think Dallas actually goes on the road and beats the Rams. I like Dallas's defense. I think they can run the ball on the Rams. I think if Cooper Rush keeps playing the way he does, and that defense helps him out with some turnovers, and that defense can create takeaways for Matt Stafford, they can win this game on the road. Give me the Cowboys 21-17 over the Rams. Eagles and Cardinals. Yeah, I think I got a winner for this. Eagles are rolling. I'm not sold on Arizona. I'm going 37-23, Eagles over the Cardinals. Ravens and Bengals. As bad as I root for Joe Burrow, because I really like him, okay? They're coming off a Thursday night game, and I just think that they're the team, if anybody, that might lose coming off this Thursday. Baltimore's in a must-win spot because they've blown big games. They're at home. There's no way they're going to let the Bengals beat them 3 times in a row. I got Lamar Jackson and the Ravens 31-27 over the Bengals. I root for Joe Burrow. I just don't think they're going to let him win 3 straight against them. I don't see it. 31-27 Ravens. Chiefs and Las Vegas Raiders. So if the Bucs defense couldn't stop Mahomes, what in the hell gives me faith that the Las Vegas Raiders can even stop Mahomes? Give me the Chiefs 41-24 over the Las Vegas Raiders. All right, guys, so those are my Week 5 picks. And let's hope to get on a good streak for that. Let's hope to end up with a winning record for that week. Guys, thank you guys for tuning into Lounge Time this week. Make sure you guys hit that notification bell and hit that subscribe button so that way you guys can get all the latest updates on when we launch an episode and guarantee it so that way you guys are most prepared for when each week of the NFL season hits. And that way you guys are up to date on what's going on in the football world for everything. Guys, thank you so much for tuning into Lounge Time. Hope you guys enjoy your football weekend. Hope you guys enjoyed the episode. And until then, I will see you guys next week on the next episode of Lounge Time. Have a good night, everyone.